Tête-à-tête at Suvees Power Meet. And yes, this is indeed a very special episode, and the future episodes are going to be, because this is our build-up for World Environment Day, which is going to happen on 5th of June. Today we have a very special guest with us, a guest, an individual who has been impacting our environment for our country, for our city, for our state, for us humans. Well, let me just quickly introduce you who my wonderful guest for today is. He is a Mumbai-based environmentalist, completely passionate, and he's certified by the IEMA. A children's author. What a wonderful combination. You will get to know why. Because he has authored books like Adventures of Biplob, the Bumblebee, Chef Jerry's Pizzeria. I really want that book because pizza is my favorite. I really want to see that book. Detective Zorro, wow! And simplifying complicated concepts for children in a manner which makes it easier for them not only to understand but to connect and get engaged with that concept. I think that's wonderful. He's spearheading the Buzz for Local campaign. He's the winner of the Navi Mumbai Chamber of Business and Industries Literary Awards in the children's book category. He is an avid traveler. Now, traveler in the sense specifically road traveling. This is the first person who I've come across who doesn't like to take a flight. But road traveling, he will go from यहाँ से कन्याकुमारी से यहाँ से कश्मीर तक सब बाजू चले जाएंगे अपनी गड्डी में. Well, without much ado, let's welcome the one and only Abhishek Talwar.
Thank you so much, Mani. That sounds like a very interesting person you spoke about. I wonder if I could meet him sometime.
Abhishek, I have had the honor of meeting you before, and I'm not sure, I'm 1000% guaranteed that whatever I said it was 100% true.
Well, it was true, but just the way you presented it, I'm like, wow, who's this person?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Abhishek, really, you're an environmentalist, and I really want to ask you, how did it start with your, really interested to know your journey into a very, very niche category, that is, cartoon characters with an environmental message.
So, let me just put this.
Yeah.
So Swani, look, for all of us, our natural, state of being is actually being one with nature, being happy. That's our natural state. All the trappings that we have around us actually keep taking us away from that. And you will realize each time, even if it's something as simple as walking by, let's say, a people tree, or something as more extensive as maybe walking through a garden or a stroll through the woods, you will feel a lot more centered, a lot more at peace, a lot more connected. Why does that happen? It happens because nature has this impact on us. And growing up and even through my professional life, each time I'd get an opportunity to get away, let's say for a small hike or a trek, or even just driving through the woods, I just immensely enjoy or love that particular feeling, without even having an understanding or a quantum of comprehension of why that's happening.
Right.
Okay, you just feel that I am happier to be in nature. And as I got married and we got kids, we decided that we're going to do one road trip every year with our kids, where and we've been doing it since our son was 2 years old and daughter was a little less than a year old. Where we travel, say, 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers, sometimes even 6,000 kilometers, right out to the Himalayas or go out to the Nilgiri mountains, and just lose ourselves in nature for 10 to 12 years. because that is something that would help us rejuvenate for the remaining 12 months of the year, remaining 11 and a half months of the year. While we were there, and as our kids were going, they keep coming up with questions. You're driving by a windmill. What is this? Why is this fan rotating? What happens with this? And I realized that it's a little difficult to explain these technical concepts to them because as a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, it's not going to be possible for them to grasp that one. Secondly, it's rather drab and boring. So I would couch the explanation in the answers or the answers to the questions in the form of stories.
Yeah.
And that's what led to the birth of Biplob the bumblebee, where each time there would be a question, even if you were just trekking through the woods or through the mountains, they'll go tell us a story, and I'd make up a Biplob the bumblebee story on the spot, which would bring some learning to do with nature, environment, tech or technology that that's available to us, which is based on what nature is doing, and how we can leverage that to make our lives better. And one thing led to another, and we've today got 6 books in the Biplob the Bumblebee series.
Yes.
And 14 more which are slated to launch over the next couple of years.
I have it right here. These are the amazing books which is penned by Abhishek. And it's a 6-volume, and I'm really excited because I was reading it and it is so easy to understand, So, sometimes, this is something personal which I need to tell you.
Sure.
This is something which you really don't understand. So I would go to Google and I would write, how would you make this particular concept, like how would you teach a child, So it's the easiest way. So I think this is the easiest way for anyone to be,
It is, and the interesting thing is, Swani, for me also it has been, I would say it's been a journey of learning.
Right.
Because a lot of times there are questions that come up that I don't know the answers to.
Right.
And like you, I would also Google it or read up on it, and then try to figure out, okay, how do I simplify this? How do I break this down into its basic blocks?
But the way you have broken it down, even right from your first volume where you talk about pollination and all, and I think it's like a tiny child, a nursery kid, or maybe 3-year-old, 4-year-old can understand. So that's absolutely brilliant.
That's the intent. So our a lot of times we're asked what's our objective for existence as Biplob world, or why do we do what we do?
Right.
For me, the answer is very, very clear. It's crystal clear. The objective through these books, through these stories, is to motivate young kids, get them to get closer to nature, get them to understand that we don't need to protect the environment. We are a part of the environment. We can't say that we are separate from what's happening in the world around us, because we're not.
True.
And it's once or when they get this comprehension, and it can be something that's happening at a subconscious level. It's not something that everyone needs to be able to articulate. You just need to understand that I am a part of the environment.
Right.
Once that happens, they will become evangelists to fight for protecting the environment and for nurturing nature.
True.
And that's what I'm aiming to achieve with this.
So, this brings me to ask you that most of our schools, have the pedagogy of ICSE, SSC, CBSE, and of course IB is coming a big way and all. So, do you feel all these books will be easily adaptable in all these schools?
The books have been written in a very conversational manner.
Right.
So, if you read the stories, you'll find that I've tried and kept the entire narrative to flow through the format of dialogues. It's not very descriptive. It's really Biplob or one of the other antagonists or protagonists or the characters having conversations with each other that makes the narrative form. So that does 2 things. So one is it makes it very engaging for the reader, and the other thing is because it's a story format. It's something which is easy to understand. One, and you would always remember something that you learn through a story. So, I've probably taken a convoluted fashion of answering your question, but the point that I'm getting at is, I very firmly believe that the best learning can be imparted through stories.
True, very true.
So, can schools adopt this? I see absolutely no reason why they can't. And if you look at a lot of the NCERT textbooks, especially the ones that deal with science and history,
let's not get there.
Let's seriously not get there. We need to take a very hard look at that curriculum. I mean, hats off to our teachers. They're no short of being sages and wizards themselves for having the ability to decipher what's there in those books.
So tell me, where does Biplob our bumblebee, where does he go next from here? You know, do you think there could be an alliance with National Geographic Channel or Discovery Channel, or do you think we'll see Biplob as an animal character in an app or a video game?
Well, yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because our hopes and aspirations are that all of this and a lot more happens.
True, very true.
But in terms of specific plans, we're very aggressively now going to start scouting for a partner to bring out an animated show.
Sure.
Because we believe these are stories that need to be told.
Right.
That's one. Secondly, I've tried and kept the stories at a very high quotient in terms of the engagement and entertainment value. In fact, a lot of times when I go back and read a story that I've written, I'm like, this is like a typical Bollywood or South Indian blockbuster with a whole bunch of twists and turns. But then that's what will engage kids.
Yeah.
So then there should be adaptable to television,
Yes.
and that was the intent even when I was writing that. They should be available in pretty much every media or every medium that a child would like to consume this content. In terms of future plans, we're very soon coming out with regional languages of these books. So we're in the process of bringing out a Hindi version, Marathi version, and a Gujarati version to start off with. That's because there's been some demand for books in these languages, so we're starting off with these languages. That's one. The other is the books are available in an ebook format, so they're on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Google Play, everywhere.
They're available.
Yeah, the e-version is available. I have already written the basic wireframe for a first-person game, which would be a video game. It will be played on a console or on a phone. Maybe in a year or so, we will be starting the process of productionizing that game, and very soon bringing that out.
Super. Anyway, so just these wonderful books that you have penned and all. You don't only have these books, you've also made some lovely workbooks and colouring books.
Yes, so we've adapted the same Biplob the Bumblebee character.
Yes.
And there were a lot of parents that came back to us saying that, hey, you know what? These are books that have taught our children, let's say, about what is understanding solar power, or rainwater harvesting, or drip irrigation. So what about other subjects like math and English? So we figured, why not adapt the character, which children love and identify with readily. And let's bring out workbooks that also teach them English and arithmetic. So these are books for kids in grade 1, 2 and 3. Simple, elementary teaching. What's different is we've also incorporated some scientific concepts in that. So, solar power, how it works, what solar radiation and how does the entire cycle work, that's explained in a diagrammatic format. So we've done all of that. And the colouring books obviously was a natural brand extension for us. Right? You say you've got these illustrated books that you love. Now you can sit and colour your favorite characters.
Yeah, right there. As you all can see, these are the wonderful books that Abhishek has come out with. So many colouring books with the wonderful character Biplob, and not only Biplob, but I'm sure a lot of Biplob's friends are there too. So looking forward to many such more.
If you ask me honestly, the stories by themselves, even if I may say so myself, they're pretty nice, but what really brings them to life is illustration. And Sonal Goyal, who's done the illustration, has, I think, done an absolutely phenomenal job. Because when I compare the work that she's managed to bring out, I would say it favorably compares with the top international characters that today exist. No, that's a very objective view that...
absolutely. In fact, when I was going through the books when you gave me, they were absolutely brilliant. And you actually want to read more, It's not that, just you read one page and leave it at that, So I think, Abhishek, soon you should come out with a book for even the seniors and the adults.
It's interesting that you bring that out, because my first fantasy fiction adult novel is, we've just signed up with a publisher. And I think in a few short months that should be out. It's called Purvya. And that's slated to either be a trilogy or maybe a series of 5 books. The first one is coming out, like I said, later this year. There is already a book which is called Chronicles of a Wanderer. It's based on the true life story of someone who in the 70s, as a 21-year-old, attempted to travel across the globe on a Java motorcycle. So it's
Wow.
all about, yeah.
It's super.
It is a wow story. So it's a coming of
Yeah.
it's a coming of age tale of this guy. I've spent a lot of time with him in obviously researching the book.
Right.
Adesh Navi is his name. So that book's already in print. It's available on Amazon and
Oh, yeah.
on other online platforms. So yeah, there are books for adults also. It's not that
So, this brings me to ask you that you are spearheading Buzz for Local campaign, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And where did you get the inspiration from? Did you get it from our PM Modi ji's Vocal for Local?
So I'd like to say this, Swani, at the risk of sounding partisan. No matter what your political inclination is, and I'm pretty ambivalent as far as political inclinations go, one cannot deny the difference that our current Prime Minister has made over the last 7 to 8 years. It is absolutely phenomenal. And this whole, clarion call of Vocal for Local, I think is a very important initiative, Vocal for Local, Make in India. And let's not even get into the economical or the social impact of these initiatives.
Right.
Although the United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals very clearly say that protecting the environment stands on 3 important pillars. There's obviously the environment, there's the social, and there is the economic. Because I can't say let's protect the environment and let the economy be done. It's not going to happen. End of the day, we need to eat, we need to prosper. So these things are taken care of in a lot of initiatives that this current government has brought up, which is I think a great thing. As far as Buzz for Local goes, let me share some statistics with you. Very few people know, but India is the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables in the world. We're number 2, and that's a huge number.
Huge number.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. Despite that,
Yeah.
last year our import bill only for fruits and vegetables. This is not for oilseeds, this is not for grains, this is not for anything else.
Right.
Just fruits and vegetables was 41,000 crore rupees. Now, if you take aside the essentials like let's say, say tomatoes or onions that we may have had to import because there's a shortfall, the biggest imports are for Washington apples, pears from China, kiwis from New Zealand. Now, these are not essential foods. These are aspirational foods that we're getting in because we want to flaunt the fact that I'm having an apple from Washington or a kiwi from New Zealand.
In fact, our apples are the best.
There, in terms of the nutritional value that an Indian apple packs, it compares very favorably with any other apple from anywhere else in the world. That's not to say the Washington apples or the New Zealand apples are not nutritious. Of course they are. But then so is the Indian apple.
True.
So why this
Entire
rush
thing,
to say that no, I will only have an imported apple? Look at cherries for instance. Cherries are grown in India, except they're seasonal. But if you want to have cherries out the year, you can still have them. The only difference is you end up paying about 4 times the price that you would pay for an Indian cherry. But why? What about the environmental cost of bringing this food in from maybe 13,000, 14,000 kilometers away onto the Indian shores? So Buzz for Local is an initiative where we're sharing this knowledge with people and telling them, listen guys, we can make a difference to the environment. Let's not just say this is something for governments or NGOs or business enterprises to only address. You and I can make a difference by simply saying, I will only consume local produce.
Yes. Makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference to your carbon footprint.
True. Even I think being a carnivore, I think that also affects the environment. It is detrimental to the environment to quite an extent.
Sure.
To be honest, I am a hardcore non-vegetarian. But I was shocked when I was reading about it. And I said, oh my God, really? So it said that, it's better having mock meat than having, actual meat, and how it can be detrimental to the environment.
So Ani, I have a slightly different view on that. Okay. Look, it's like this. As a society, if I were to just look at, say, Jammu Dweep, which is the known as the Indian subcontinent today, historically, we have consumed meat. Right. It's not that it's something that's been, put or locked on us once we had invaders coming. We've been doing it from what is known as the Vedic era. And is there something wrong with it? There is nothing wrong with it. Is someone saying that plants don't have life? Plants don't feel that pain or that emotion when you're cutting them. There is scientific proof. Modern science has proven that a plant does feel distress even when it knows that you're going to be cutting something off it. And that distress is very clearly measurable. Okay, so let's leave the ethical part of it aside. The bigger problem is that today with consumerism, peaking and getting to new peaks every day, we've forgotten that we need to exist in moderation. And that's where the bigger problem is. You spoke about meat eating, for instance. So if you look at red meat, North America and several parts of Europe, China, the consumption of red meat in just these small pockets of the world is close to 70 or 80% of the global consumption. There are cow farms or cattle farms in South America which run for kilometers and kilometers together. Can one even for a minute comprehend the quantum of methane that is actually, or carbon dioxide that is actually being put out into the atmosphere because of this? That's one. The other is, the UNFCCC, which is the United Nations Forum for Convention on Climate Change. They came out with a study which said that one of the largest contributors to climate change is actually agriculture, believe it or not. And when you break that down further, you realize that it is agriculture where food grains are grown for the consumption of this cattle. Okay, so you're growing food grains to feed cattle, which in turn is then being slaughtered so you can have meat. That's really not the smartest way to exist. Yeah. So I'm not saying turn vegan, but at least moderate it. You can't say that I need to have my steak or I need to have my burger every single day of the week.
This is the problem, Abhishek, which I think each of us must have seen. It's human nature, greed.
Greed, yes.
Greed is there in our veins.
Yes, it is. Someone famously said, I don't know if it was Navi or who it was, the earth has enough for our needs, not for our greed.
Absolutely.
And I think that truth is now coming home to roost and how.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
True. You being an environmentalist, I really wanted to ask you, technology such as AI, machine learning, blockchain, do you think is it making a positive impact on our environment? And do you think we will get a glimpse of it in your stories soon?
Will we get a glimpse of it in our stories? Yeah, why not? Yeah. I'm always, curious and inspired by what's happening in the world around us, and that's what comes out in these stories. So absolutely, will this have a positive impact on our environment? Well, my view is, technology, and I think a lot of people conform to this view now. Technology per se is not good or evil. It's really the application of whatever we discover or we invent that decides whether the impact is good or evil. So, is something like artificial intelligence going to help us in making the world a better place? Absolutely. There are instances of this already happening. There are a lot of organizations, a lot of them funded by the UN, a lot of them not funded by the UN, that are already using artificial intelligence tools for us to model the impact of various human activities. And on the basis of that modeling, come up with solutions or with decisions that will help us mitigate the impact on the environment with what we're doing. So that's already happening. I recently remember reading about one experiment which was very interesting, where again artificial intelligence was used to understand the entire communication system of an indigenous forest, and the amazing mind-blowing learning that came out from there is that the trees and every single organism in that particular ecosystem is communicating with each other. So trees which are 100 years old, 200 years old, 400 years old actually have roots which are penetrating across large distances, and trees are communicating with each other through this network of roots. Okay, and again, this is not some science fiction gobbledygook. This is real. This is measured.
Right. I thank you so much, Abhishek, because this is so insightful. I think a lot of people need to need to understand this. As you said, that the roots of the trees, they communicate with each other. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So, people, we have to be absolutely conscientious about our environment. It's ours. It's nobody else's, right? You know what really bothers me and what really worries me is what about the next generation?
Yes.
You know, that's the scary part.
Yeah, well, that was a part that used to scare me also the most.
Right.
But I've spent a lot of time with a lot of kids,
Right.
so I've done close to, I think, more than 80 or 85. This is the pre-pandemic era when the first Biplob book was out. I've done these sessions where I've gone to schools and interacted with children in batches as intimate as say 15 to 20 kids, and as vast as like 150 kids in an auditorium. Where I've had a storytelling session where very interactive conversation or discussion with them, and these kids are way smarter than what I was, at least when I was their age.
Yes, this generation is different.
They're way smarter. B, they immediately grasp on not just what you were saying, but what the possible implication of this would be. And my whole intent with these books to start off with was, and still remains, is to essentially empower kids who are tomorrow's citizens or tomorrow's owners of the world, empower them with the knowledge and with the passion that this world is all we have. Our sole objective for existence needs to be to protect nature. Everything else will take care of itself.
Absolutely.
Because we've made a mess of the world.
Totally.
The least we can do is empower future generations to at least begin to undo the mess that we created.
Totally. I mean, human beings have really gone way beyond making it extremely messy. And I just hope that, just thinking about the fact that the next gen, their own children, to support their own children, they need to look after the environment. And everyone has to work together, right?
Absolutely.
So many things that we come across, the new techniques that they're talking about. A couple of years ago, I read about high-rise having solar windows and those plastics, the new kind of plastic, which is plant-based plastic and all. I really hope all this becomes a reality in such a way that every household is utilizing it and every household is really trying to make a difference.
So it's very interesting you bring this up, Suhani, and this is not something I've given a lot of thought to, other than fleetingly, but something that just struck me. I believe it's all interconnected. Okay. You spoke about solar panels that can be put on the facade of a building. Hitachi came out with these panels, I think about 8 to 10 years back, if not longer.
Right.
And the unfortunate reason why they didn't take off is they were not financially viable. Again, simple numbers, which may bore you for 30 seconds, but just bear with me.
No, please.
A typical solar panel operates at an efficiency of about 22%.
Right.
Which means if you install solar panels which can potentially generate 1 megawatt of power, they will actually generate 22% of it. Okay, and that's an acceptable number. Solar power is today cheaper than coal, marginally, even at that efficiency level.
True.
These window panels, unfortunately, operate at an efficiency of 4.5%, which makes it unviable. But just, I think last week or maybe a couple of weeks back, an institute in South Korea, I don't remember offhand the name of this institute, the researchers there have come out with a panel which operates at an efficiency of 12.5%.
Wow.
And they have used some laser-based technology where they managed to punch holes through the panels, which the width of a hole is the same as the human hair, which reduces the opacity of this panel. So you don't need to install this panel over your windows. You can replace the glass pane with this panel.
Yeah, that's exactly. This is what they were saying, that it's a solar window,
It's
as
a
in
solar
the glass of the window.
So what was in the realms of science fiction maybe a couple of years back today exists at a project level, and in a couple of years from now it will be a reality. What needs to happen simultaneously is government regulation needs to move at pace with that, where you say not only is this desirable, but if you don't put this on your windows, you then pay twice the amount for electricity and property tax and everything else.
I think that's really required.
That's when adoption will happen. Then you spoke about plant-based plastics. Where does plastic come from? plastic, the largest source of raw material for plastic is the residual waste from refining of oil. Now, if you stop producing plastic, what are you going to, plastic or rayons, everything else that you do with the residual waste from refining oil, what are you going to do with that? So, to my mind, the solution is pretty simple. Stop refining oil. Stop extracting crude and refining it. Let that carbon, which is sequestered under the surface of the earth, let that carbon be there. Find alternative sources of energy, which we already have. It's just a question of productionizing it or ramping it up. Be it electric vehicles, hydrogen fuel cell based transportation, power generation using solar or wind or water and sea waves and all of that. It exists. We just need to ramp that up and replace fossil fuels with these. Automatically plant-based plastic will be a reality. It's simply a question of scaling it up, which is why the 3 pillars, and which is why I believe the whole local for vocal and the Make in India initiatives are great because they take care of all 3 pillars of sustainability: environment, economic, and social.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. This has been such an amazing discussion and so much to learn and extremely insightful.
Thank you so much.
And I love the way that you have taken it upon you, that children are our future, and how beautifully, you have combined your being an environmentalist and you being a children's author and come up with such lovely books for them.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for doing this
Pleasure's all mine.
for our children, because I feel, as I said, children are our future. This is our future gen. Yeah?
Absolutely, yes.
And whatever happens, they are going to take it forward. So kudos to you. I really need to thank Abhishek. Even you must have seen that this beautiful venue that we are sitting in, it's called Sante, and I think all Mumbaikars definitely must visit it. It's Sante at Khar. You will not believe it. When you come here, the kind of food you will eat, you will never feel stuffy, you will feel healthy, and when you go on your weighing scale, you will never feel guilty. So isn't that brilliant?
I think you should have said that first, and yes, followed later.
Well, so here we are at this wonderful venue at Sante, which was at Khar, having on my talk show, which is Tête-à-tête at Suvees Power Meet, with our wonderful environmentalist and children's author friend Abhishek Talwar. And please kindly do subscribe to my channel. Do not forget. You'll be soon seeing us on my channel, that's YouTube, Dr. Suhani Mendonca. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to share, because a lot more people need to know how we can look after our environment through our wonderful children. On that note, this is Dr. Suhani Mendonca signing off with Abhishek Talwar.
And since I don't have a cup in my hand now, thank you so much for having me over. It's been a pleasure, and like Suhani said, do not forget to subscribe. The links are right down here. And if you do happen to be in this part of Mumbai, this place, Sante at Khar, is actually quite nice. Do check it out.
Well, bye-bye from us. On our way out, both me and Abhishek will say, let's take a pledge today. What do we say? Let's make them take a pledge. Right?
Absolutely.
Right? We are going to look after our environment.
And Buzz for Local is one way that all of us can make a difference.
So type out Buzz for Local on Google and you'll find out lots more about it. And this is the man who is behind it. That's all. This is Dr. Suhani Mendonca signing off. Have a great day, great evening, great life ahead. God bless everyone.
Thank you.